Hey guys, Ramsey here. Welcome to another video. Today we have a review, and this time we're taking a break from Sherwood Week to go to the house of Areej Le Dore, another artisanal house. And if you've been following the channel, you know that I am a big contrarian. I love going against the grain, and I love talking about these rare, hard to find, even if they don't drum up a lot of clicks on the video. It's funny because I'm such a contrarian at heart that the YouTube algorithm keeps telling me these videos you've been putting out haven't been getting as much clicks, which I guess the YouTube algorithm is basically telling me to review more like Mancera, shite, stuff like that. That, believe it or not, when I review some of the mainstream fragrances that sometimes I shit all over, those are the ones that get the most clicks. But I want to talk about what I want to talk about on the channel. And losing 2, 3, 4, $500 in click revenue per month means absolutely nothing to me. What matters more is the channel and being able to continue on in the spirit of creating these videos in the way and that I am happy with, the level that I'm happy with, and the fragrances that I'm happy with. So today kind of continues that tradition, if you will. We're talking about what I would consider one of the best attars in my collection. It's from the house of Areej Le Dore, and it's called Civet Bomb Attar. Now, since I am someone who talks about good and bad when we talk about a release, the name rubbing off when I put the plastic wrap around it to bring it to work today is not a good thing. The other thing I will say is that this bottle leaks a little bit, so it doesn't seal as tight as the Sultan Pasha Attar, so I don't like that. When I had it in my pocket today, or when I had it in my bag, I'd take it out, I noticed there was some drips just from like being upside down and stuff like that. So I wish it sealed better. But other than that, the fragrance inside is really something extraordinary. So we're going to talk a little bit about Civet Bomb Attar. Came out in 2022. And I have to say thank you to my good friend. It's grown on me like no other, and I would not be able to talk about this if it wasn't for the kindness of Areej, who has been a subscriber to the channel from probably since very close to the beginning. And he basically said that this was too much for him, that it was too much for him, and his wife also didn't like it, so it was a double whammy. So he gifted it to me maybe like a year ago, believe it or not. I've been sitting on this for this review for a long time, and you can see this is a 3-gram attar. It sells for, or it's sold out. This entire luxurious attar collection, or whatever they call it, is all sold out, which is a shame because really after trying this, really makes me want to then go try some of the rest in the collection. But this sold 3 grams for $150, and you can see I've had this for over a year, and how much oil is still left. I'll wear this to bed, try it on before bed sometimes, because this is almost like the Beauty and the Beast, no pun intended for the actual Beauty and the Beast fragrance. Not that I'm comparing it to that fragrance, but in the sense that there are some real beautiful things in here. The stunning Mysore sandalwood, the rose/rose water like note, and there's also some animalic challenging notes in here, especially with that civet note. So it's funny because I really feel like after all of these Areej Le Dore reviews that we have to start calling Russian Adam something more than just Russian Adam. He needs to be the great Russian Adam, the legend Russian Adam, whatever it should be, but he is doing things that very few people in the realm of perfumery are doing and taking chances on. And I love that about him. I love that about his personality. He's kind of a lot like me with what I said in the opening. He does his own thing, and if people don't like it, or some he gets criticized for this, that, or whatever, he just continues on his path. He has like an ordained journey that he is traveling on, and you can see it. And I'm so happy with what the house has turned into. And really it's the brand that took my journey on a completely different direction. And what's interesting about Civet Bomb Attar, other than the fantastic name, is that if you look at the note listing, there's only 3 official notes. It's a very simple note listing, okay? So you would think from reading the notes that it's a simple fragrance because it's Ethiopian civet paste, which Russian Adam told me that he used 1 kg of real civet paste in this distillation. Real Mysore sandalwood and rose attar, or I'm sorry, rose water inside of the attar. So those are the only 3 notes. The Ethiopian civet paste, the real Mysore sandalwood, the rose water. So let me read you the blurb from the Areej Le Dore website, and then we'll talk a little bit about it. So it says, a mind-blowing, complex, and animalic attar created by Russian Adam through the process of co-distillation of old batch of Mysore sandalwood and natural Ethiopian civet paste in rose water. Using the traditional techniques, Indian copper pot, and a very unique materials, a true jewel was born without actual blending of different materials. Perfectly harmonious contrast of distilled animalic civet, which is rarely a case, and soft, watery pink roses with a buttery cream of soothing sandalwood. Distiller that became a perfumer, coming back to distillation with a vision to create a truly traditional attar, one of the most animalic natural experiences of its kind. Okay, so this luxurious attar collection is probably the most interesting of all of the attars that I smelled from this History of Indian Attar collection. Because if you know some of the original ones, which I have, and I have not done individual reviews on the channel because they're very simple creations. Like this, for example, was called Tuba Attar, and it was literally tuberose in sandalwood. Now, if you would like to study these materials, like if you're like a scientist, if you approach the fragrance game sometimes how I do, with a lab coat and a pen, and you're making notes, and you want to smell the real ingredient, the natural smelling tuberose, the amazing proper sandalwood, this line is fantastic. But it didn't blow me away. They were simplistic creations. They're beautiful, yes, but these feel much more simple. This feels like he's taking a chance. He's doing something different with a similar structure, if you will. So I'm going to try to translate how Russian Adam described the process. It's not easy because he described it to me with much excitement, by the way, and some technical terms, but I'm going to try and give you a picture of what makes this so special and so amazing for me. Just beautiful perfume. And I've been getting more and more into attars. If you're someone who is into attar, go watch a couple reviews that I put on the channel. By the way, we've crossed the 900 video mark on the channel. So for those of you who are new to Channel Ram, there is a ton of old videos out there. Go back through my old videos. But in particular, if you're into attars, check out my Sultan Pasha reviews I reviewed for. There is an entire sample set that I've been sitting on from Sultan Pasha that I plan on talking about in some form or another on the channel. And then there's an interview where Sultan Pasha came on the channel and blessed us with an hour and a half or almost 2 hours of his time. And we talked about pretty much everything under the sun when it comes to attar and his background. So if you're into attars, I would urge you to check those out. But I'm going to try to translate how Russian Adam sort of described the process to me, okay? So again, getting more and more into attars. At first, I remember it felt like a chore wearing an attar because I really felt like, man, I really want to spray. I'm a very routine person, as you can see with these videos. The videos are in the routine, so it's part of my daily routine. And so I'm a very routine person. And so swiping just felt wrong. You know what I mean? It felt like, I missed my spray. But for me, attars have this glorious triumph of natural smelling blended materials that I really have never gotten in a spray perfume. And this one in particular has this almost natural smelling, but in a vintage creation way, vintage execution that you just won't find nowadays, even in normal attar. So first, the smell. So if you've ever smelled real Mysore sandalwood, here it is. I mean, literally in all its glory. The Mysore sandalwood acts as a carrier oil here, and the real sandalwood, which Russian Adam sent me some beautiful real Mysore sandalwood oil, which sometimes when I'm just feeling in a contemplative mood where you just want to kind of be introspective and relax, and it almost has this meditative quality to it, almost like you're sitting in a temple meditating. Sandalwood has that property to it. And I almost feel like if I was ever going to get into real meditation, like my brother Eugene, that it would be real sandalwood oil that I would probably use to kind of put me into that state, if you will. It's so buttery, soft, and smooth. I should mention I put on a couple swipes here before, maybe like an hour ago before the video. Oh, it's absolutely beautiful. So that Mysore sandalwood note is just perfect. It's such a perfect representation of the real Mysore sandalwood that Russian Adam sent to me. It's so buttery, smooth, and soft. not silky, but almost like spongy in a way. Like you could just throw yourself on it and just bounce almost like you're going to fall onto a waterbed. You know, there is this just unbelievable, cushiony, soft quality to Mysore sandalwood. Now, the heavy punch, remember I said in the beginning, there's this Beauty and Beast quality, not like smelling the fragrance Beauty and the Beast, but like this Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde type quality, let's say, because you have this unbelievable softness from the sandalwood. And then on the other side, you have this punch in the face, this civet that I must admit, when I first got Civet Attar from Areej, I thought that I wouldn't be able to wear it because the civet seems so much more aggressive and suffocating in a way. To me, now that I've worn it and understood it, and I think it's almost even mellowed out a little bit, if that's possible, in the bottle as the year has gone on. It could just be my nose getting used to it, but when I first smelled it, I really thought it was very aggressive, and I understood why Areej said this is not for me. But the more that I've worn it, I still get a little bit of that sour, bitter, pungent, pissy, slightly pissy. I wouldn't use pissy as easily as I would use it in something like Koros. The civet here does have animalic qualities, but it doesn't smell as suffocating to me a year later, if that makes sense. So the civet almost works as this sharp, piercing, animalic accord that just rests its head on this luxurious pillow. Just imagine this animalic civet resting its head on this pillow. And that's representative of the Mysore sandalwood. The civet sitting on that carrier oil, which is the Mysore sandalwood. Absolutely beautiful. Stunning. I wore this to work today. Felt like a god. I mean, literally felt like a god amongst men. It is beautiful. And finally, the third part of the tripod, the third leg, if you will, is the rose water. And the rose water here, Russian Adam once told me that just smelling a rose brings a smile to his face. And here, reminds me a little bit of like Arabic desserts, just good vibes, smiles, laughing, cheers, all that good stuff. The rose water here is very smooth, but it is also slightly light. I would describe it as light. He said that there were pink roses that were used to make the rose water, but it really, to me, acts as a third wheel. I get much more of the Mysore sandalwood and the civet kind of dominating, but I think the rose water adds a little bit of that third dimension, which is very important. So let me try again, as I said earlier, my best to decode the way Russian Adam so brilliantly described the method of distillation. So first and foremost, these attars were supposed to be created in what he would call the classical Indian style attar making. That was the whole point of the History of Indian Attar collection, which I actually discussed in a live stream on the channel. But many of them I did not review. The actual fragrances don't have individual reviews on the channel for whatever reason. I didn't buy any bottles from the set either, but if you really kind of twisted my arm, and so these are the spray format, but the idea was the same. I would say kind of bringing back these traditional Indian style distillations. I think Beauty and the Beast would be the one that I would probably buy. I would love a bottle of Beauty and the Beast just because I've been such an oud head lately. But I remember really liking Al Majmua. That's a fantastic Chypre fragrance. But go watch my live stream if you want more detail on the history of Attar collection. And it's funny because this actually made my way to a friend who did a huge favor for me. I sent this to him so he could try them out, decide which ones he was going to buy, and then he sent me the remains back so I could review them if I ever decided to. So that was very, very kind of him. So the catchphrase that Russian Adam used when we spoke earlier today, and he tried to describe blending these attars, these luxurious attars, is he called it blending on a molecular level, is the way that he described it. So what he means by that is that the notes here are not blended using traditional, call it French style perfume, but here the ingredients are almost co-distilled in a way, okay? So meaning when the steam is rising, you have the steam from all of these vapors, And as they rise, they hit the condenser, hitting the cooler temperature, and then condense back to liquid. And that's when the oil is born, so to speak. So there's a birthing process to this oil. But so that is where he comes up with the term blending on a molecular level, as they kind of coexist together. All three of these materials, in all of their complexity, in and of themselves and glory, are sort of blended in at a molecular level. So they condense together, they live together, they become one oil together, and they fall into the oil trap together. Okay, now I'm not a distiller, so some of this I'm literally taking directly from what he told me. But if you've been following my channel, you know that I've been complaining a lot lately about sort of people using the term maceration in their bottle. They'll say, I just bought a bottle of Montal and it was shite when I got it, but then I let it macerate on my shelf for a couple months, and now it's fantastic. All they're doing is letting air into the bottle. That's not maceration. And so some people I know use that term just because they hear it thrown around, but allowing air to go into your bottle doesn't macerate a perfume. Perfumers macerate the perfume. And they basically are the ones that decide when the maceration process needs to stop. And Russian Adam told me an amazing story with the Civet Bomb Attar. So he talked about how at different stages of distillation, the oil that came out and onto the oil still, if you will, the oil smells different at different stages of the distillation. So it literally smells different on day 1 versus day 2, so forth and so on. So when it is happening in the still, different stages and different molecules are blending with one another in a way that, depending on what stage the oil was removed from, it smelled different. So for instance, he basically said sandalwood usually takes about 7 to 10 days in a proper distillation. Every single day, every single hour that distillation is going on, the smell from the sandalwood as it's being pulled out smells different. So it would smell different on day 7 versus day 8 versus day 9 versus day 10. So each single day, each single hour, the smell is different. And so same thing goes for the civet paste and the rose water that's used. Different molecules and smells come out at different times as the distillation has happened. So the way Russian Adam described it is, he said when he started cooking this concoction for the first time, the civet smell was the most volatile and the most noticeable, the easiest to smell. Okay, it was the easiest ingredient to pick out of the oil when it first was born. And he said the first day it was actually so strong of civet that the entire workshop was filled with this smell of civet. Employees were not complaining, but the workers were kind of complaining because of how intense and powerful and that the smell of civet is. Remember, one kilogram of pure Ethiopian civet paste went into this. So it gives a perfect example of what I kind of tried to describe earlier with the smell of piercing civet. Imagine on the first day, before it had a chance to kind of smooth out how animalic it is. If it was too animalic for, Areej, who I know is an experienced nose, now the finalized product, once it's smoothed out, just imagine how powerful and piercing that civet note was at first. So at first the civet dominated the composition, if you will. On the second day and the third day, slowly the sandalwood and the aromas from the rose started to kind of make themselves more and more known and more apparent. So this is a perfect example, I would say, of a perfumer using this maceration method and having to make a personal call on when to end the distillation. When do you end it? Because the first day was almost purely animalic civet, but the more days that went on, it started to become smoother and creamier and woodier, and it lost some of that animalic profile, is the way that he described it to me. So after a week or two of distillations, he ended up with a couple fractions, and he blended the very best of the distillations together. So even though he is operating as a distiller here, he still had to kind of put his perfumer's hat on and decide which fractions to then blend together. I think he said the final one, which was the least desirable of the bunch, he just basically tossed. He said it wouldn't have fallen into what he was going for with this particular attar. And so how long as a perfumer do you allow the distillation to go on? When do you end that quote unquote maceration process? Now, it's different for macerating perfumes in perfumers' alcohol, because I've heard some perfumers, some of the big name Givaudan, IFF perfumers say, oh, we let this macerate for 2 months or 3 months or 4 months or whatever it is, right? Before we decided to end it. But the idea is the same. They're choosing when the smell basically is supposed to stop changing. And perfumers have the ability to do that in when they're doing their creation. So this goes back to my conversation that I was having with you guys on Sherwood parfums, and it ties back to my I want to do the videos I want to do on this channel. Even if it's not getting the clicks or the views, I don't care. That's something that's very important to me. I mean, I could do Mancera or Montal or Initio videos all day long. I could do lists all day long. Lists get all the clicks, but I'm not doing it just for the clicks. I want to bring this type of content, what I think is where my nose is telling me to go. I want to follow my nose and my passion. I hope that comes out in these videos, because I do pour my heart into this channel. And I will tell you, value for money, in my opinion. Now, I didn't spend my own money on this, okay? Areej sent this to me. But if I had spent $150 on 3 grams, which again, after a year, Areej used some, obviously. I've used some. I've worn it multiple times as my scent of the day, and you can see how much oil, how much attar I have left. So value for money for me, through the roof. Just imagine how labor intensive and unique it is to spend a week or 2 in a building watching a distillation constantly, these small batch co-distillations together for $150 for 3 grams. No one is doing this type of ancient Indian attar style distillations today. So while chatting with Russian Adam, he brought up a couple very interesting points. Fantastic point, actually. He said in India, they have this amazing tradition of attar. Some say going back thousands of years. But many of the shops that make the rose oil, and there's some fantastic attar videos on YouTube if you look them up, going to the actual ancient places in India. I think many of them have been around for at least hundreds of years. And there are some folks that claim, like I said, it goes back thousands of years, the tradition of doing this style of perfumery and distillations in India, right? But he said something very interesting. He said, whenever you go and look at the stuff that they're creating, it's the same thing over and over and over. They're creating Majmua Attar, Shamama Attar, Shamamatul Attar, whatever, you know, all these different attars from ancient recipes. But where are the people willing to try something new? Where are the people willing to try something unique and something different? And that was the point on, I think, what the Areej Le Dore website was trying to call these exclusive attar collections, because it really makes me excited, I would say, to want to try the others in this collection. And then the most mind-blowing part, or at least the part that really made me go, very interesting, is he said that in making this exclusive attar collection, which I hear almost no one talk about, this gets very little talk in Fragcom, if you will, but it's so beautiful. This exclusive attar collection was like the very first step, if you will, in creating his Musk collection, which came out in 2024. So like, this is an example of Royal Barn, which I've shown on the channel, and I will do individual reviews of these. Somebody asked me, when are you going to review Royal Barn and Cuirtis? And I will, but I want this to sit for a little bit with some air in the bottle after I've, you know, sprayed it and worn it, and I want to see if it changes a little bit and opens up, as some fragrances clearly do. But he mentioned that this was almost like a first step in doing this line, because if you look, for example, some of the other exclusive, like the ones that I want the most from this line is Musk de Taif, which is Mysore sandalwood, Taif rose, which is my favorite type of rose, and wild Siberian musk skins. Royal Musk is aged Mysore sandalwood from old Indian government stock, 15, 20, 25 years old, and soft, delicate, gentle aged musk maceration, which is a bit of a preview to the way the musk was used in his musk collection. Many of these ancient musks, you know, don't have the bloody, pissy smell of some of the more challenging musks that I admit, I love those type of challenging musk fragrances, but the way that these ancient vintage musks are used, mind-blowing. And if you've smelled some of this line, he was saying you'll completely understand the next step in creating this Musk collection. I just thought that's perfect. I mean, it's a perfect kind of segue into why I love Russian Adam's work and how he's willing to go to all these different places that no one else is willing to do. So I am very blessed to have these. Thank you to my perfume godfather who very kindly sent me Royal Barn and Cuirtis. And so I will be doing reviews on them, but again, I wanted them to sit for a little bit. I just wanted to see if anything changes. If, you know, sometimes I didn't want to rush the review, let's put it that way, on something so important. So that's the reason. Eventually both Cuirtis and Royal Barn will be reviewed on the channel. And I still have samples. Like I said, I still have samples from the Attar collection. I have samples from this Musk collection as well, like Forbidden Flower, which is one of my favorites. I would love a bottle of Forbidden Flower. And the other one was Creme de la Creme. I really like those two. Paradise Soil might have to grow on me a little bit, but I have samples of all of them. So I could technically do, you know, late night insight, quick hit videos on them. But there's that live stream where I kind of talked about them in there as well. But just seeing this as a stepping stone and how everything is built on everything else, you know. Michael Jordan didn't just go to the Bulls. He had to play at North Carolina first, right? And he had to play high school ball first. And so everything is like a stepping stone. But the fact that we get to experience these beautiful creations, it's a blessing. And there's really very few people doing the type of work that Russian Adam is doing, to me, to my nose. So I've been wanting to do this review for a while. Today is the day, especially since I'm on this artisanal kick with kind of Sherwood Week. So we will take a break from Sherwood Week to do a review of Prakhar Gupta's kind of idol, which is Russian Adam in this space. And I think there's maybe a couple more Sherwoods that I can still talk about. Maybe tomorrow we'll do one more and then call it and do something else. Because I just, you know, I really wanted to make a point that Sherwood is a house that deserves being looked into. And some of those I reviewed, like Inexplicable, for example, or that last one from yesterday, Paradise. My God, I think Paradise might be one of my favorite oud fragrances that I don't have a bottle of. I would love a bottle of Paradise. I think if you said, Ramsey, you get one bottle of a Sherwood fragrance, it would maybe be Paradise, or the new one, which I haven't had a chance to smell though, Chrysos. So yes, exciting times on Channel Ram, getting to talk about all these amazing scents. We'll still do the vintage reviews. We'll still do the list, but my point in doing a little bit of a ramble earlier was that I'm going to go wherever I want to go, and the algorithm can scream at me all day and give me alerts and all that stuff. You know, views are down. I don't care. I'm going to do the videos that I want to do, and wherever that takes us is where it's going to take us, and the revenue and all the other stuff comes secondary. I had some very generous people donate to the channel, and honestly, this is my favorite way of donating. You know, perfume over money for me is where I would put my priorities. But I have had some folks donate, but obviously there's no obligation to do any of that. The little bit of money I get every month off of the ads is more than I ever expected. But yes, that's kind of my thoughts on Civet Bomb Attar. And if you're getting into Attars like me, man, I wish I would have known my love of Attar back when this came out, because honestly at these prices I probably would have bought them all. I probably would have bought every single one. But I'm glad to have what I have. Thank you, Areej, for the introduction into this amazing exclusive Attar collection. Thank you, Russian Adam, for doing this type of perfumery for the community. And thank you for watching and supporting me. Everybody who likes and comments and subscribes and all that stuff helps the channel in the long run. But we're growing very steadily. You know, 500 subscribers, give or take, every month. And I'm very happy with the growth of the channel. And I'm very happy that I can do these type of videos for you guys. So I hope you took something out of this very educational, very technical video. Not all of them will be this technical, but having access to someone like Russian Adam who was able to kind of go through the steps, I figured I would kind of peel the curtain back a little bit for you and give you a little bit of a sneak peek into what went into creating some of these Indian Attar style creations. So anyways, thanks for watching. Cheers, guys, and I'll catch you next time. Bye-bye.